Have you ever wondered what happens when love and relationships shift in your later years? What if the promises of companionship no longer bring the peace and comfort you once hoped for? In today's video, we dive deep into the life story of Mr. Peter, a 70-year-old grandfather who openly shares his journey of finding love again and why he chose a domestic helper over remarriage. If you've ever questioned the true meaning of companionship and the choices we make as we age, this video is a must-watch. Stay with us till the end, as Mr. Peter's story will challenge your perspectives and reveal the surprising truth about finding peace and happiness in your golden years. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. A 70-year-old grandfather openly reflects on his decision to avoid remarriage, emphasizing that hiring a domestic helper has brought him more comfort and happiness than pursuing another relationship. Mr. Peter, who is now 70, speaks candidly about his experience with his remarried wife, Lai, who is over a decade younger. When they first married, he felt deeply connected to her and believed their relationship was built on mutual care and respect. However, as time passed, their dynamic shifted, especially following a significant life change when her son purchased a house. Mr. Peter's failure to contribute financially to this purchase seemed to alter her attitude toward him entirely, leading to a growing distance between them. Ultimately, he decided to end their living arrangement, opting instead to hire a domestic helper to assist with daily life. Mr. Peter explains, "This year, I am 70 years old. My wife, Lai, is over 10 years younger than I am. When we first got married, I genuinely loved her, and she treated me well. But when her son bought a house, I didn't contribute financially to it, and that seemed to be a turning point. Her attitude toward me changed drastically. She became cold and distant. I thought I had treated her well. My monthly pension is 12 million dong, and I gave her half of that, 6 million dong. But she hardly ever spent that money on anything significant. We lived a modest life, primarily eating vegetarian meals of eggs, vegetables, and very little dairy. Our monthly expenses never exceeded 3 million dongs, so most of the 6 million dongs I gave her went toward groceries, but even that wasn't used efficiently. I used to crave fruits, but whenever I asked her to buy some, she always chose the cheapest, least fresh options. I would suggest buying seasonal fruit, which not only tastes better but is more refreshing, but she would insist it was too expensive and refuse. Eventually, I stopped asking because I knew she was trying to save money. When I bought fruit on my own, she would consume more than me. I could see that she was prioritizing saving over shared enjoyment, so I chose not to argue, thinking perhaps I should be more understanding since she was a woman. Aside from her stinginess, she was also reluctant to do any household chores. Whenever I asked her to cook, she would delay until I was starving, only to grudgingly prepare a meal. After cooking, she'd insist I clean the dishes, acting as though cooking was an exhausting task. Then, she would lie on the bed, saying she was tired and expected me to handle everything. When I wanted to go for a walk, she would insist on joining, but every time we prepared to leave, I had to wait for her as she changed outfits multiple times, washed her face, styled her hair, and applied makeup, as if we were going on a special trip. Mr. Peter's reflections highlight the emotional toll and practical challenges he faced in his marriage, leading him to conclude that hiring a domestic helper was a more fulfilling and less stressful choice for his remaining years. Her lengthy preparations often left me feeling frustrated, and I didn't want her to accompany me. I asked her not to follow, but whenever I did go out without her, she would always create a scene, accusing me of seeing other women or dancing. I loved dancing, it brought me joy, but she neither understood nor appreciated my passion. Instead, she doubted my intentions, constantly questioning my loyalty and integrity. To avoid unnecessary conflicts and painful confrontations, I chose to give up my love for dancing altogether, even though it was one of the few things that truly brought me happiness and fulfillment. My daughter is now married and has children of her own, and they are struggling financially. Seeing my daughter's hardships and their constant financial burdens always weighs heavily on me. Whenever my daughter visits, I always give her some money to help ease their struggles and provide some relief, but my wife has never liked this. She would often criticize me, saying that I should save the money for my old age. However, I didn't see it that way. I already provided her with 6 million dongs every month, which I thought was more than enough support. Her attitude towards money became increasingly difficult to endure, turning small disagreements into larger conflicts. She would often create tension and refuse to talk to me for days, especially when I couldn't tolerate the silent treatment any longer. To end these prolonged cold wars, I endured and made peace, even though it was exhausting. Honestly, I didn't ask much from my remarried wife. Just simple things like cooking, a bit of conversation, and companionship. In my old age, my expectations have grown smaller, and I no longer desire the same things I once did. In my youth, I wanted a wife who was not only beautiful but also financially capable. However, now, what I seek more than anything is peace. My remarried wife was certainly luckier compared to my first wife. Back then, I didn't fully appreciate my first wife enough. I was too preoccupied with my desires, forgetting about her needs and the sacrifices she made. The money I earned back then wasn't enough to support both of us. My first wife passed away due to hard labor while my daughter was still young, leaving me to face the immense responsibility of raising her on my own. After her passing, I remarried a woman who was over 10 years younger than me. At the time, she believed that living with me was a loss for her, and her attitude quickly became one of arrogance. Despite my attempts to understand her and compromise, my efforts only seemed to empower her domineering nature. In my youth, I had the energy to endure her petty conflicts, but now, my health isn't what it once was. I dread arguments and long only for a peaceful life, but she never seems to care about my feelings or well-being. Her dissatisfaction constantly manifested in criticism, calling me old and weak, and blaming me for things like my snoring or my carelessness about oral hygiene. She even moved to another room because my snoring kept her awake. Back in my youth, I was considered handsome, and many women found me attractive. But despite that, I chose my remarried wife. My generosity convinced her to marry me, but now, her perception of me has shifted. Her gaze towards me is filled with disdain, as if I've grown old and lost my worth in her eyes. I've endured these changes, though. At this stage of my life, I have no plans to divorce. Having a partner is better than being alone. However, ever since her son demanded 300 million dong for a house, which I refused, she has completely distanced herself from me. It's not that I couldn't afford to give the money. I simply didn't like the way they approached the request. Her son rarely visits, treating me like I'm insignificant. If he doesn't respect me, why should I give him money? How my wife asked was also difficult. There was no discussion, no understanding, just a demand. I told her I had already been giving her 6 million dongs every month, some of which she had saved. Why should I now give her son 300 million dong? If she had asked for 20 or 30 million, I would have gladly agreed. But demanding such a large sum made me feel resentment and further distanced us. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. At this point, I feel worn out and emotionally drained. I don't ask for much, just a sense of peace, a bit of warmth, and some respect. But her constant criticism and disregard for my feelings have left me feeling unseen and unappreciated. In my youth, I sought a life of stability, companionship, and peace. Yet now, I feel as though those dreams have slipped further and further away. When I initially refused her request for financial assistance, she became enraged and accused me of valuing money over my own life. She told me that if I ever fell ill, she wouldn't be there to care for me. Those words struck me deeply, leaving me hurt and bewildered. I never imagined she would react in such a way, especially after all the sacrifices I had made over the years. To have everything I had done for her be reduced to nothing simply because I couldn't provide more money felt utterly unjust. It felt as though all of my efforts, all of my hard work and dedication, were dismissed as meaningless. At that moment, I felt a surge of anger and sadness. How could someone I had cared for so deeply speak to me like this? Despite my best intentions, my sacrifices, and my unwavering commitment to the family, I was now being told that my worth was reduced to mere monetary value. It was disheartening beyond words. In my mind, I thought, if she didn't want to care for me, then I wouldn't care for her either. If love had conditions, then those conditions should apply equally to both of us. From that day forward, I decided to withhold the 6 million dong I had been providing each month. I came to understand that no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough. She would continue to view our relationship through the lens of what I could offer, and I would always come up short. It became clear that she wasn't interested in valuing me as a person, only as a source of financial support. I realized that trying to win her approval with money was a futile endeavor. After I stopped providing her with financial support, she eventually moved in with her son. It was later revealed to me that she had sold our family home to help him purchase a new one. This move further solidified my understanding that she had no intention of returning to a life with me. Her priorities had shifted entirely, leaving me feeling abandoned and unwanted. At that point, I knew there was no chance of us ever living together again. Faced with the reality of her departure and the realization that no amount of effort or sacrifice would change the situation, I decided to hire a helper. I continue to pay 6 million dongs each month, but the peace and comfort I now experience is far greater than anything I ever had living with my remarried wife. Living with her was a constant source of tension and dissatisfaction. The responsibilities of household chores, meal preparation, and other daily tasks fell solely on me, leaving me worn down and drained. The stress of trying to meet her expectations and satisfy her demands was exhausting, and it made me feel increasingly suffocated. Now, with the helper, all of those burdens are lifted. I no longer have to peel fruit or prepare meals for myself. Everything is taken care of, and I have far more free time to simply enjoy my life. The best part about having a helper is that she listens to me attentively and responds to my requests without question or argument. There's no sense of control or nagging, only peace. Living with my remarried wife often felt like walking on eggshells. I was constantly subjected to her rules, her expectations, and her demands, which left me feeling trapped and unable to be myself. Since I embraced the idea of having a helper, I have completely given up on the notion of ever sharing my life with my remarried wife again. The thought of returning to that controlling and suffocating dynamic is something I can't accept anymore. I have decided to proceed with the divorce because I no longer wish to live with her. With my pension of 12 million dong each month, I can comfortably afford the helper and ensure my home remains in order. The helper manages the household efficiently, freeing me from the responsibilities that once burdened me. My life now is far more comfortable and peaceful than anything I ever experienced during my time with my remarried wife. I have come to the realization that a helper will be the one who tends to my needs until the end of my life. I no longer seek any form of romantic relationship with my remarried wife, as my peace and well-being have become my top priorities. So, what key lessons have you taken away from Mr. Peter's story? Share one insight you've gained that you'll apply to your life below in the comments. Whether it's about finding peace in older age, the challenges of remarriage, or the importance of understanding and care, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If this video resonated with you, please leave your comment below and let us know what you'll take from Mr. Peter's experience. And if you found value in his story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of our future videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.